from 200, 300 level, I had been serving 2 people who were running their businesses in recycling and in leadership and academic excellence. Then NYSC, I taught. Then I kept working for one of them for years. I did Uber for 2 weeks before I then started. And I worked for somebody for, again, about a year. Then I started my business because the principle of service was there. But I knew that...
You're never going to work for
paid employment wasn't for you.
And funny story, right? Most of these people, 90% I didn't collect salary.
Well, here again, if you're watching this now, I probably wasn't in the last episode because they're trying to do the Nigerian politics way and push me out because I'm doing good. They want to push me away. They are looking for who rub something in their palm. Do you understand? But God is fighting my battles. Anyways, I'm your host again on the Japa'd podcast, and I have my sidekick, King of Japa'd. Just give yourself the intro.
Yeah, I'm ready into the episode because the politics that you just played fits in well to our guest today. But that's fine. The last episode you missed, you went to Gumosho, right? And the one you missed last, you decided to go home.
The one I missed last, I was supposed to be on that one, not the one I appeared on last. Do you understand? And it was that one I wanted to be on. I mean, the last episode I was on, I liked the guest. He was chilled. Very cool guy. Like, very, very cool. But I wanted to be
on.
But
just like politician, you know that this is how you don't begin the shalaye. You said you were crediting them with recess allowance. Now you are talking of prayers that why are you speaking? Why are you just saying a lot of things?
Off camera. What's that thing you said? I can't remember what he said, but he said I withdraw that statement. Something has already come on. He said I withdraw that.
All right. Today is going to be interesting. I have talked about what I have done over the last 10 months plus. I've said it now, maybe 6 or 7 episodes. And I talk about how leadership is very, very key to me. And I say a lot of things, but we decided to do something special. First of all, I have successfully met, like they used to say, the requirements to graduate from the SPPG, the School of Politics, and Governance. Did I get it? Politics. Sometimes it do happen. I have graduated, and like my last postgrad, I wasn't interested in graduating as the best graduate student. Even though if they give me, you'll be deserving, because I think that one of the biggest things I learned in leadership is that selflessness. There's something about going for number one that just seems to, every time I do it, I lose sight of like the main thing.
Fuck.
And I remember from the very first, it's funny because Roberta is here. People are going to see this. But from the very first session we had when we came in and we started this, people called it acculturation. It just seemed like the only way to win this would have been to lose sight of what makes me.
Yeah.
And again, I always say it's not a Christian podcast, but that is the Bible. That's Jesus. Like, my Bible always has taught me to focus on excellence, and excellence doesn't do too much shouting. Because I saw people lobbying to be nominated, and I'm like, how you lobbying to be best graduate students? You can't determine that. Oh, you can determine when you see me as the first governor from the SPPG or that kind of thing, but...
And me, your chief of staff.
Yeah. All right. We have a guest today from the SPPG who would allow her introduce herself before we begin to grill her. She's the one that has to do a lot of talking today. Yeah. So, hello, ma. Please do us the honor of introducing yourself and tell us why you are here.
Okay, thank you for having me. My name is Roberta Okereke, and you asked me to say why I'm here. I'm here because in the short version, you invited me to come on your podcast. So
I did not say that there. I intentionally asked that question. Okay, so Roberta works with, I don't know, because the SPPG has this very family thing, it's not common. So do we say works with or do we say works for the fixed politics? Which do we say?
Well, I would say that I am the experienced lead for the School of Politics, Policy and Governance.
Yeah, I like that. And like we always say, welcome to Japa'd Chronicles. We want to always get to know our guests, and we go all out. We like to chronicle a lot of things. So tell us about yourself. You already started with a great story today. So tell us about yourself. Tell us your immigration stories. How many countries have you been to? etc. etc.
Wow. Okay. I'm scanning my brain to think where do I start with in response to your question. It's usually something I struggle with. Tell me about yourself. Like I don't ask people that question because I know that I struggle to respond to it.
That's like first date questions. Though.
I think that's like first interview question.
Yeah.
Job interviews.
Yes, and if it's a job interview, I'm trying to sell myself to them. Like, these are my many capabilities and accomplishments. So, really, when you hire me, you should really consider hiring me. If you don't hire me, you'll lose out. So if it was,
yeah, that's apropos for this, because we're trying to sell the SPPG.
So I would say that I am based on the top. I think I'm a passionate believer in Nigeria. I wanted to say the Nigerian dream, but I know that Nigerian dream has been smashed for a lot of people. In fact, not for a lot of people, for almost every Nigerian that lives in Nigeria or that have managed to somehow escape. There's a struggle to say, what is the Nigerian dream? I don't know what it is, if it exists. Actually, the Nigerian dream of today is to escape.
Yeah, fucked.
Japa'd, man.
Japa'd is Nigerian dream.
Yeah, spot on.
But there's another Nigerian dream that some other people subscribe to, especially those who are not in a hurry to escape, and that is to really give Nigeria an identity that everyone will be proud of.
That's interesting. And again, you just proved why I wanted you particularly here, because that's a very, very great way to start. Have you ever thought about escaping?
Oh yeah, many times. I actually have. I've thought about it when I was at my wit's end, when I was, the frustration, you face Nigeria, Nigeria faces you, you experience each other, and you just said, this cannot be it. This is not normal. I've had many of those meltdown points. And I've also had the point where in the last 2-3 years, when all of your family and friends, people that are near and dear, go away, and you look around and you have no one left. So you have to ask yourself, do I start again? Am I going to start making new friends all the time? Yeah, but there's a reason why you've taken all these years to build this inner circle, and they become your go-to. And when your world is just yanked away like that, you have to think, what do I do now? Does it make sense to be here? So those are the occasions.
It's interesting. It's interesting because I was telling them on the way here that I saw a tweet of a couple of popular guys on Twitter, and one was talking about how 80% of his friends have left, and he's not a young person. And I was basically just saying that I think that that's part of relationships. Relationships evolve, and marriage and immigration are two constants, that sort of guarantee that. And I have just learned now that once those friends leave, just bring in new people into that circle. It's not going to be easy, but that's part of life.
But it's not as easy, because even the new friends you make could leave anytime soon.
Are leaving.
Are leaving, actually. Are leaving, actually. So,
they are leaving. They are leaving. You find, I remember I was having conversation with a few friends sometime last year, and, just suspecting ourselves, where are you? As I'm speaking to you, these days we speak over WhatsApp. I just want to confirm where you are. Confirm your location for me. Confirm your location for me, because
UK, Netherlands.
People. Some people won't tell you for their own reasons.
And that's fine. Yeah,
and you hear from them a week after, like, oh, by the way,
I'm in Canada now.
By the way, I'm elsewhere.
It's sad, but I would try and crack a joke and say that you have 200 million friends that you can make.
I mean, it's not. It's not.
Not easy,
I mean, it's not everyone that resonates with you. It's not everyone you can choose to be a friend with. Do you get? So I mean.
All right. So Roberta, what countries have you visited and should we say attempted to Japa'd? Because I mean, moving from Nigeria to any country is already Japa'd, right? But what countries? I know you're in Senegal recently, so we can take that. What other countries have you been to?
I haven't traveled a lot lately. In fact, since I think before I went to Senegal, it'd been a minute. But actually no.
I've seen
mean
you
the
on
most
it. I've seen your
popular
IG.
ones.
Okay,
The
go
most
on.
popular ones. I mean, everybody's in. It's America and the UK. So let's get that out of the box. I have been to Kenya. I've actually spent some months in Kenya. I actually love Nairobi. I love that. Learning, I have this thing about learning about cultures and experiencing the cultures, particularly the food, because I love food. I'm just kind of a foodie kind of girl. So I've done that and I've really enjoyed it. I have been to Istanbul. I've been to Germany. Yeah, Turkey. I've been to France. I think that's it. I don't remember.
That's enough. That's
a lot of countries.
That's a lot of countries.
Is it?
You've been to more countries than some of that have been states in Nigeria.
Actually, you've been to more countries. I've been to states in Nigeria. Actually.
So I want to ask though, apart from Nairobi, Kenya, which other country have you stayed the longest in?
The UK.
How long was that? Was it years, months?
Both.
So
I used to live in the UK, but more recently, I was in the UK for I think 4 months. So
you have family there?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was telling Isaac the other time that the last person that came on the pod, she was in the UK for a year, and we were asking her about her relationship status and the breakfast that she served and all that. So when you go to these countries and the cultures, do you stay for the people or you just have a goal to just be away from Nigeria a bit?
It is.
And then has love ever kept you in any country before?
Has love ever kept me in any country before? Not that I can say. Scanning? No. But it's both. It just depends. Sometimes I'm going for family. Sometimes I'm going for a specific purpose. Sometimes I'm actually going because I need a break.
Did you school in any of these countries?
Yes.
Which one?
In the UK.
Ah, that's nice. What course?
I studied business with human resource management.
Master's level.
My undergrad.
No one. I had so experience lead.
Okay.
It makes a lot. So what university?
Edinburgh's Napier University.
Ah, that's nice. That's one of our partner schools. That's nice. How was that experience? That's Scotland. How was
It was, I mean, I don't know how to share the experience because I was at that age, a teenager, finished secondary school. I think the integration was easy because you're still quite formidable. You're still quite
young and
yeah. And it was good. It was different, but it also matured me. I think one of the things that this Western societies have is that they mature you. They put responsibilities on you because you go in and your friends are working, and you want to work. Meanwhile, you've never done a day's job in your life. So, but you quickly shape up because this isn't your parents trying to. So you quickly shape up. You quickly become accountable and responsible. So yeah, I think
that's interesting. So Roberta, clearly, schooling in the UK would have been 3 years undergrad, and then you have lived there
that
on
would
and
be
off.
in England. Scotland has different. Scotland, you do 4 years in your undergrad.
Oh, really? Ah, that's nice. All right, so let's go to the reason we are here.
No, but I wanted to ask a question. Sorry. Did you have the option to stay after schooling in the UK?
Yeah.
But you decided to come back to Nigeria?
I wanted to do NYSC. I was encouraged to do NYSC.
Or not like you voluntarily wanted to do NYSC?
Well, I was encouraged and then I took up the opportunity.
You're quite a patriot.
But I know many people
that would want to do NYSC.
that did it at the same time as me. I know many people.
I told you when I served in Lagos, half of the people in Lagos camp were
IJGBs.
Yeah, US and UK. Half of them.
I mean, I met a few.
It was Covenant and other private schools, a few Uniport, and then those.
Yeah. I met a few people from the UK, China, in my camp. Yeah, China. Now he's in UK.
I mean, yeah, people come back from China
yeah,
because
but like most of them are like, oh, well, my parents that forced me to come back. I didn't want to come back here, so I love them.
Do you speak Swahili? You say you spent time in Nairobi.
I can speak one word.
What's
or
that?
Maybe Sasa.
What's that?
I think it means
You're not even sure.
thank you.
She said, I think.
All right, so let's go to why we're here. But I want to just ask you a question, not just because you work in that policy and politics and leadership space, but because, you know, when I meet young people who seem to have a clear love for Nigeria, are you involved in Nigeria now thinking politically? Or do you just love what you're doing, guiding these young people or elder people who now want to do good for Nigeria? Have you thought about running for office or being involved in it before now?
Definitely not running for office.
Okay.
I do not see that in any form of my future.
Okay.
That for frontline
Work.
Yeah, it's not mine. I think the sort of person that I am is that I support frontline people. That is my power. That's my, magic there, that I enable them to excel.
Yeah.
I'm just
it's clear. And it's funny because you're the second person this week who I've spoken to who's lived abroad and said the exact same thing. In fact, the other person said that she realized that she's not good at business and she's what you would call an entrepreneur. Put me within a system that needs my help and I would run it like my own. But if you leave me alone to be like, no. And, I tell them in the office that the earlier you understand and like you realize what is you, like it's funny because from when I was very young, I would always say that I was never going to work for anybody. I just knew. The only thing that my faith did for me and having good people around me was that I was encouraged to serve. So from 200, 300 level, I had been serving 2 people who were running their businesses in recycling and in leadership and academic excellence. Then NYSC, I taught. Then I kept working for one of them for years. I did Uber for 2 weeks before I then started. And I worked for somebody for, again, about a year. Then I started my business because the principle of service was there. But I knew that
you're never going to work.
Paid employment wasn't for you.
And funny story, right? Most of these people, 90% I didn't collect salary. People will never understand that because today when I even say to young people, they almost look at me like, you're saying that now.
I'm still looking at you like that.
Yeah. In fact, I had people who would say, if you don't even have a job, just go serve somebody. It didn't make sense to a lot of my age group and people around. And that's really spot on.
Yeah, usually doesn't make sense to people, especially, people have different value systems and people are coming from different backgrounds. So you will find on the occasion some people who understand, or even if they don't understand, but they have been cultured that way to serve.
Yeah.
So every now and again, you'll find somebody that says, what are you doing? Can I help out? I just want to help out. And they're helping out at that stage, but they're helping you out, but they're getting a lot of learning, a lot of exposure, a lot of training in it. So service really does it's an easy way to get through the doors of something that you really want to do and you wouldn't be employed to do, because if you don't have the skills and the experience, nobody will want to pay you to do that, especially if they are not a very established organization that have a training program.
Yeah.
So coming in as a volunteer, as an intern, is an easy way to get familiar with the terrain, with the industry, pick the lingo, pick up the skills, and go off and do your own thing.
I would always say tell that to this generation because they are the Indomie arrogant Range Rover generation. They like the 3 minutes food. They don't want to listen to anybody and they want the best things. I don't know how they think those 3 things add up.
It's not entirely their fault. They have been taught that, or they've been shown that the generations before them have set some precedents that they're now looking at. They've come into this world, they've observed what's going on, and they've put 2 and 7 together and made whatever number it is. But it is, people have to take responsibility for that generation because they weren't born. It's not something that was injected in them at the womb. And even if it was injected in the womb, who injected it? Somebody did the injecting. So it's something they have observed.
Yeah.
And we have an argument, a debate going on here where we talked about, I feel like the government is responsible. He feels like the people, right? And I'm not sure what side you
No,
stand.
I think it's the
I'm
the government
I
and
was
you are the
people.
people.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry.
So whose side will you be on? Because I feel like you just said, the generations, like our people have sort of just made it seem that way. He feels it's the government's responsibility to sort of nip that. I'm not sure whose side.
is both.
I'm the government.
Yeah.
It's actually both. And when I said that they're not entirely to blame. They're not to blame entirely for, the way they are. People are responsible for it. And it is the people and the government. The people starting from the home. What are the values that are taught at home?
Yeah.
The people moving from the home to the wider community, either your church community, your mosque community, your school community, your playground community, the neighborhood community. What are the values? What are parents saying? And what are the other younger people saying? And it is the government, because the government have been elected to represent us for what would be our common good. In what ways have the government done that, and in what ways have they failed to do that? That causes all of these gaps or needs in society that people are then resorting to look out for themselves in very selfish ways. So it is the government
and the people.
the people.
But I would always say that the government is the people, right? And growing up, Yoruba culture would always say that the children that you see is not just your child. Like everybody's responsible. But now that is no longer the case. You see a child do something wrong on the road and you correct the child. The mother is running to slap you, or the father is running to slap you. That
don't talk to my child.
Talk to my child. And we didn't have that growing up. Growing up, anybody who was responsible could correct you. And when they spank you, and you report to your parents will probably spank you 3, 4 times, 6 times more than that person corrected you. All right, so let's go into why we're here, because it's great how you have really, you have explained a number of things, but we want to talk about a number of things focused more on Nigeria and what is our leadership problem and why immigration has become a thing. So do you want to tell us about I don't know if I say the SPPG or fixed politics, because fixed politics did give birth to the SPPG. Tell us the vision, mission, just how it started, what's currently happening, and then we can go into a number of things.
Okay. Fixed politics is a good place to start because it's the umbrella initiative. Organization or movement, as you wish to call it. So fixed politics is a citizens-led movement to fix politics. Because it's the name, it says it all. It doesn't need any interpretation. It's exactly what it is. And some people will be asking, okay, what about politics are you trying to fix? Then I would ask them, what do you think would need to be fixed or doesn't need to be fixed? Do you like the politics? Do you understand the politics of your country, of Nigeria? Do you like it?
Yeah.
Are you part of it? In what ways are you part of it? And people are like, oh no, I'm not political. I don't do politics. I stay away from everything politics. And that's interesting because we answer that way because we don't understand what politics is about. Human beings are intrinsically political. It's not a bad or dirty word.
Yeah.
It's just like money. People say money is the root of all evil, but that statement is taken, I think, from the Bible. The love of money, which means that unbalanced, ambitious pursuit where you sacrifice every and anything to pursue, when money becomes the sole aim
Focus,
or focus, then you would do anything. You would, it becomes a god. It becomes, so that obsession is what is it's the root of evil. And it isn't the money itself. It is the behavior, the things that are coming from the inside of you that are driving that. And I say money is agnostic. it depends on whose hand it is. If the money is in the hands of a generous person, everybody gets to get a taste of it. If a little money is in the hands of an enterprising person, the money will multiply. If money is in the hands of a manipulative and controlling person, they will use that money to manipulate and control other people.
Yeah.
So tying that to the question I started in fixed politics. Politics is essential to everything that we do as human beings. And this station, this channel is Japa'd Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
Politics is what influences people's decision to leave or to stay. Yeah. And it is also politics that determines which country
you go to.
Because politics produces people who produce policies.
Yeah. Roberta is preaching today. I don't even want to say anything. I don't want to say anything. I'm still at agnostic. I'm new word alert. I'm still an agnostic, but
after going through the SPPG, I don't think you're an agnostic. Please, you can't say that. I'm certain you're not.
You're speaking my mind. What I would say right now is right now the problem we have seems to be a people problem, right? And in the last couple of weeks, I've heard so many stories, the wars and things like that. And I always ask myself, these people that are in power, who clearly also have access to social media and know that people are suffering, they go around, are they just wicked people? Or are their hands just tied? So I'm curious to know, what is the SPPG going to do about telling people and helping people that, look, it's not just every 4 years, that there's an election cycle. Because before I finished the SPPG this year, it was when I had began to have those conversations with people and we were planning, in our small communities, and I started looking at the local government. It was through the SPPG that I really knew even much more about the local government. Yeah. Then, of course, my capstone project was focused on the local government. So the first thing I realized is that I didn't even know much about the local government that I've been. I've been in the faculty local government for almost 20 years. I didn't know much of the run-ins. We just know the state and the people in the House Assembly and then the national. So what is the SPPG going to do for people understanding what you have just said now and then normalizing it?
Okay, so I think, permit me to take it away from, let me start from fixed politics, the fixed politics movement, because I think I'm able to give a more holistic response from that angle. Fixed politics, we have what we call the triangular pillars of democracy. And that is what the fixed politics is hinged on. There are three subgroups, if I may say that, of the fixed politics, addressing a specific area of need that is required to fix politics and fix governance in our country. And why we call it triangular pillars of democracy is because we believe that without any, you need all three. You need to attend adequately to all three to be able to get the outcome you want. You can't do without, you cannot achieve the result with any one missing. And what is it? We have what we call the WSG1, Work Study Group 1. Yeah. And Work Study Group 1 is an enlightened and engaged electorate.
Yeah.
So you've heard us talk a lot about the Office of the Citizen. Yeah. So that program and project, Office of the Citizen, is domiciled under the enlightened and engaged electorate. Their work Study Group 1, is really to engage the common man, the everyday person, because take the message out there to them, sensitization, voter sensitization. giving them all the information that they need to know to be an informed and engaged, because you can't be engaged when you're not informed. You've just cited your own experience that through this, you're starting to understand your local government that you didn't. So you were not engaged at the local government level until you started to get into this information. So that's important, citizens' engagement. And you remember Sarah Maka's class that she taught on Office of the Citizen, and just the power of citizenship, that's just helping you to understand that the highest office in any nation is the Office of the Citizen, because you don't get voted into office. You are, when you have citizenship, it is conferred on you by birth or by whatever means. You have rights. You have rights, and it comes with responsibilities. So then we have work study group 2, which is emerging a value-based political class, which is where the SPPG program comes in. And our focus really is to, as the name again says, emerge people who will lead us, that have the right values for shared prosperity. Not subjugating public good for personal or parochial needs, but it's public good for a reason. It is for the whole. Everybody, no sector, no segment, no entity or no group of people within the whole should ever feel like they are not catered for, they are not looked out, they're not represented, they are not heard, or their needs are not met. And it is good leadership that ensures that happens. That's what the SPPG is about. Then the third, and finally, also give us options of leaders. We often complain that every election year, who am I going to vote for? It's the same people that were there 50 years ago, the same people. So, okay, one of the things we want to do is expand the pool, give you options of people who have been groomed and trained. And we often say this, like, I mean, you have your cleaner. I'll start from something as basic as your cleaner. Your cleaner is trained to clean, to know what products to use, on wood, and what to use on marble, what to use if you're starting to have molds, what to use for plates. And you will not use Clorox on your plates, you wouldn't. So a cleaner does that. A hairdresser learns. They get trained. Makeup artists, they get trained.
Learn how to
and then
use the
somebody who's going to lead the economy, determine economic growth, determine whether you will have lights in your house, determine if small businesses, the Yarisi that is cooking her rice and stew or something like that, determine, how she's going to, or even the price of goods in the market.
And the person doesn't have work.
And that person doesn't understand some fundamentals. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, because you wouldn't do that to yourself. You wouldn't have that person. You wouldn't hire that person to lead your organization. You wouldn't even hire them to be a team lead.
If they're even your...
It reminds me of Peter Obi. I think in one interview they asked him if he loses the election, would he, like, maybe if they appoint him for a minister or something, and he's like, oh, would you give a bus to a driver who's not experienced and then let an experienced driver be the conductor? Does that make any sense?
That is. So that is what the SPPG is about, the value-based work study group. Then work study group 3, just as important as all of it, it's about institutions.
Yeah.
And every Nigerian right now, INEC is at the tip of their tongue. INEC is one such institution that people need to look into and hold accountable. So if you fix the people, the electorate, and they are engaged, they're informed, they know what's going on, and they're there. Then you produce a new crop of leaders, and people have options. You have value-based leaders. There are also the systems and the institutions, that hold people accountable, that, respond to these needs. You have the legislative arm of government. That's an institution. How are they run? Who runs it? What are their policies? We often, you remember in I don't know if it was your year or the year before, that we had such a heated debate about the current constitution. And is this fit for purpose for the Nigeria of today? And people were arguing all kinds of ways. Somebody, an institution, is responsible for the constitution, So we're saying that's what fixed politics is. The triangle makes up the triangular pillars, that you have to fix the people, fix the leaders, and you have to fix the institution. Then you will have the governance and the democracy that you're looking for.
Yeah, and that's powerful. And these are things that you have said to us in class over and over. It is very funny though. So now you have people looking to Japa'd. And what happens if everybody who should be engaged in these things we've talked about, but has the means to Japa'd? What happens as this high rate of Japa'd continues to, be on the rise? What's your position on that, and how does that affect what you're trying to do? Because right now, the average Nigerian wants to Japa'd, you spend in a good country that you're going to. I probably don't care about the people that are going to smaller countries. The ones that will go to the major countries will spend north of at least 10 to 15 million, right? To 25 million, depending on where you're going. I wonder, those kind of people are the people that, should either be focused on helping us with the first work study group, which is to engage people, or the second, which are the people with value. What's your position on that? Have you ever thought about it? Because personally, I feel like for me, those people need to go. And hopefully, as we fix things here, where necessary, we begin to bring those people back with comparative education and their exposures to come and fix things. Well, what's your thought on that? Because you've lived abroad, so you should have, first-hand knowledge of going and coming back, and then just going and having friends. What do you think about that?
That's an interesting question. I haven't actually thought about it before in those terms, but here's what I would say. That first, we can't stop people from leaving. People are leaving because they are running away from the pain and the difficulties.
Yeah.
And sometimes you really have to let them go because it's difficult. Nigeria is really challenging.
Yeah.
You have to let them go. Some people will come back, because even though many people, of the 100 people who are running away, not all of them should be running away. And grass is never greener on the other side.
Yeah.
If you look at the world today, if you look at the Western world, if you look at the world today, the world is in so much turmoil. There is so much pain and difficulty everywhere. Give me a country and tell me.
Where is the perfect setting?
Tell me. No, let's not go to perfect. Let's go to, if perfect is 100%, let's go to who's at 60% right now. So there isn't any real
safe haven.
Yeah, at least not in the long term. For short term, you will feel that sense of, okay, I can breathe now. But that's the time you're also acclimatizing and getting settled in that. But Nigeria also is a very large country. And I don't think this applies to Nigeria alone, except maybe there's displacement, war, some disaster, man-made disaster begins to drive us out in droves. There will always be people who are left behind. There will never be a vacuum. And the important thing is that there will always be people who will listen to the message and who want to be part of rebuilding. Some people will see things differently. You're here. You're here. I don't know what your plans are for after this conversation, if you're on a flight going somewhere. But in the meantime, there are many people who, first, they actually do not want to go.
Yeah.
They see the value, even though they're in so much pain being in this nation. And there are some people who don't have the option. You've just mentioned 10 million, 15 million. How many people have that amount of money or have access to that amount of money? So there will always be people. And this is why the SPPG and the fixed politics is so important, that we have to, the work we're doing, we have to attack it as if this is our last opportunity. But we plan and have it in mind that this is a long term, because not even I go, you go, we all go. But what about our cousins, our great-grandmothers who will not go nowhere. The grandmothers, they're elderly, they're fragile, starting life again. What about, our driver at home? How's he going to? Is he going to go through, the boats by the sea? So the call to fix politics and fix Nigeria is louder now than it has been. And actually, if I look at Africa, we know what's been happening on the African continent in the last few months. And you look at that, you're confronted with the issues, and you have to say, we have no choice. This work is important and it is urgent. We have no choice. Where are we all going to go to? Nigeria is 200 million people. Where? Yeah. Who's going to take all of us?
Yeah. And that's the reality. I was reflecting, I think yesterday evening into this one. I think it was yesterday evening, about a country who had similar problems like we have and has really just turned around. Singapore. We have a case study that we use in the SPPG with Lee Kuan Yew. And one of the things that happened with Lee Kuan Yew and even in South Africa with Nelson Mandela was the exposure to Japa'd and go learn, the education system and the benefit they got from the UK. And, whilst it almost seems like if I ask you the question now that, this Japa'd wave, do you think it's down to the current system of governance? But the follow-up question to that for you would then be, what are the benefits of people going to these countries and that getting that exposure and that education? Because most of my friends who study politics and leadership and things here, they come out and they do this like garbage in, garbage out. They don't seem to get anything. I employ a lot of graduates. Only a few have anything that they've really gotten from the university. So what will your position? Because I'm going to assume that first question is yes, that it's our current government or the recent years of government that has caused this.
It's not the recent years of governance. It's been longer than the recent years of governance. Okay. So the decay we have today has been building gradually over time, and not enough people were doing the right things.
Right, yeah.
I know that one of the lectures we have at the SPPG, I think it's during acculturation, one of the faculty was explaining, I think it's when we come to talk about the move to this fourth, the fourth democracy that we're in.
Okay.
That at that time, the opportunity was there. But people were so skeptical, like, I don't know what's going on, I don't trust them. So the right people stayed away from politics and allowed other people to jump in.
I think it was Franco Wege's class, I'm not sure.
Perhaps.
I think it was, I love that
and
class.
And so because the right people were skeptical and questioning, and they stayed away, other people, there's no vacuum. Other people who were not the right people jumped in, filled in, and they made it their own. And so they built a foundation that we've just been building. They set the tone for
people like
it to continue to go.
Yeah.
And so things, when we had a fantastic opportunity, we didn't grab it. And now everybody's shouting and complaining, this is what we have. But let's be reflective and say, what role did I have to play? What role did I fail to play at the beginning? And what can be done? So there's the failure. There's many years that have brought us here.
Yeah.
But they are you gave the example of Singapore.
Yeah.
And I always say, there's a saying that, where there's hurricanes for regions that are very susceptible to hurricanes and flooding. Do you know what they call it? Especially the Western world. Do you know what it's called? An act of God.
Yeah.
And God is a deity in any language, any culture, God is a deity, God is a divinity, God is supreme. So you believe that these acts, these things, disasters are acts of God.
Yeah.
And yet, human beings have been able to solve it, at least gone a great extent to managing it and reducing the impact of it, preventing and also managing the impact, the impact for when it's unpreventable.
Yeah.
And that's what they call the act of God. Yet the issues we have in governance and leadership
And
is
then
not
the-
the act of God. Nobody
yeah.
can subscribe that to God.
It's
Those
act
are
of man.
man-made.
Man-made.
We can tell
Yeah.
the story.
Act
Yeah.
of
Are we
man.
saying that we can solve, we can tackle what we claim as the act of God, and we don't have solutions to what man created?
Yeah.
It boggles my mind. It boggles my mind. You know, one of the things that happened in the recent elections, you know, the first election, and people were so disheartened, they complained, and by the time we went to, that's at the presidential, by the time we
Yeah,
came
it
to
is.
the gubernatorial and all that,
Voter apathy.
people did not show up. It was, I saw this elderly couple, really elderly couple, and they came up to me and said, "Where are your friends?" I don't know them, they don't know me. I said, "I don't know." And I said, "Please tell them to come out and vote."
Wow.
I was both touched and broken by that.
Yeah.
You know, because they could tell, they understood the implication of what was going on. So, you know, because there had been such a momentum, a wave, you know, we're going to do this, we're doing this, we're doing that. And then you got kicked one time, you ran home and cried and said, "I'm not coming back." I mean, no disrespect to anybody. I'm just saying, do you understand the depth of the problem? You have to know that it's not at one time I'll get it right and everything will be restored. There's no one leader that has that sort of power. There's no magic wand. It's a long-term, consistent, continuous attacking. That's what would create an environment for people to come back. And people will come back. A lot of people that left do not want to. They actually want to be in their own home country. There's nothing as good as being in your own place.
My friends say there's nothing as good as home food.
Yeah. Just to build on what she said, sorry I'm bringing him up again, but that was one of the, feels like I'm campaigning for him again. That's one of the pointers, for Peter Obi's campaign, trying to connect the diaspora to Nigeria here, and like creating a system where people would actually want to come back here, or how the diaspora can support us here in a way. And I think that's something we don't currently have in Nigeria. Nobody really wants to go and come back. Like, I don't think 70% of people who leave or who have left this year have plans on come back to Nigeria, because I don't think there's a system here that would work for them here. Yet.
As long as people continue to do the likes of Oladipupo and his friends, colleagues, continue to work hard and preach the gospel of Nigeria, that it will turn around. It will turn. You mentioned about connecting diaspora. There's the Nigerians in the diaspora. I know particularly in the UK and the US, there've been this clamor that they want to be able to vote. And the system has not allowed it. And I can't comment on that because I don't actually know. I've never actually explored to say, why are we resisting it? So I don't have. But, I asked a few questions, like how many nations do that allow their people in the diaspora be involved in the system? Brazil actually does that. And I know that for a fact. In fact, for Brazilians, to renew your Brazilian passports, even here in Nigeria, you have to vote. They have a system for you to vote. You have to provide evidence that you voted
before you get your passport.
Before you can renew your passport. I have a personal example. So it's possible.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, I was going to say that one thing that education does for you is it sort of energizes you and gives you a solution. And when Roberta was talking about the gubernatorial election, you remember that we had a session right after the presidential, and I said that voter apathy was going to happen. You see, I wonder, because I wasn't at the war. I'm sure you were not at the war, the last civil war. I feel like
There's no way I could have been there.
I feel like people are scared. If you remember NSAS, if you remember some of the more to occupy Nigeria, people are scared. And as poor as we may be, nobody wants to die. We are not in a country whereby if we stand to protest or just fight for our rights, we feel like we'll be fairly heard. Instead, There are friends that we do not know where they are because till today, nobody has admitted that this is what happened at the toll gate a couple of years ago. And so, why come out to vote as a young man with that very recent scar in your mind? And that morning, I cannot forget, I walked out like the presidential election. Even I didn't go out as early as I went for POs. Everywhere was empty. It wasn't just the young people. Because not only did we feel like the institution, as we said, had failed us, there was no system in place that was going to even counterbalance that. If everybody's clamoring, let's make sure we got it right. And so everybody's deflated. Now, obviously, 1 year in the SPPG, I know that to win my election in my local government, if I decide to run, first the people have to be informed. Because even though there are market women there and there are probably some agberos and all that, there are a lot of educated people there. And if I educate them, because I've checked the local government elections, the polls and all those things, I don't even think they get up to 10,000 votes. So people don't know when. I said I've been in Ifakona for 20 years. I've never known when they did local government election. Ever. And I was just telling Roberta now that my group, we did PEEP, which is basically Work Study Group 1, because it's Public Enlightenment Electorate. I can't remember what the P is for now. So we basically are going to a portal. Yes, so it's a portal where people can go to. So not only can you see what is happening in your local government, you can also be part of what is happening in your local government. So effectively, if that portal is run as we hope it should be, in all 774 local government, you will know what happens when an election is going to happen. And if and when your governor or someone is sort of holding things back. And so I know that I've left the SPPG knowing what I need to do. So I'm in Ifako local government, the second largest in Lagos State.
Left the program. You're going to the alumni association.
Yeah. Well, true.
We don't let people go.
Yeah, I know what I need to do. That's the reality. Except I just want to be like, I'm not interested. I know what I need to do to win the election. That's the reality. And education does so much in the foundation. And I was asking about Lee Kuan Yew because when I read his story, and they use also a parliamentary system which is similar to the UK. I don't know if that's why he went to the UK, but that system sort of is very, very similar. And education does so much in there's also something about education that I have seen is that in the success of my business, people are wowed when you know something they don't know. So the problem then becomes when maybe it's a thing of pride. Maybe you know more than somebody, and then you now sort of lord it over them that, oh, I know more than you. So now that I have this education, I am energized. But I would also admit on this podcast, and that's why my voice is probably low, because I'm just reflecting on that night of the NSAS. I'm not ready to die. I'm a young man. I have a family. I've got children. I don't want to die. And if I cannot just go serve my nation and serve my land and just do my bit and make sure everybody in my local government is fine, I think the ultimate thing is that we would rather walk away than die. And that is really where the problem is. Yeah. Because I remember that election, Isaac was very deflated. Did you even come out for? He was not interested in the second one.
I didn't.
So that I think we must not forget that, because it's emotional right now because it's our nation. But that is the real thing for me, is that should I ever decide that, this election is in 2024 or 2027 and I'm going to run, the only fear right now for me is I am not prepared to die.
And I hear you when you say that, and it is foolishness to die a pointless death. It's just wasting precious resource, because every human life is really, really precious, and there's no reason why you put yourself or anybody at all in harm's way. But this country, one of the things that we're suffering from is little to no value for life. And people use means to get their points across that they shouldn't use, to show you that they do not care about human life. So it is now that we've seen that many people who want to have their way have no value for our lives, it then should bring an awakening. An awakening, you just wake up to say, you do not value my life. So it is what you want at all costs.
Yeah.
And yet your position is supposed to be to protect me and to make sure that I have a secure environment to live and to thrive in. And so we become, what our response to that isn't necessarily to completely walk away or to fold our hands, because in walking away and folding our hands completely, you are sending a message to that other party. You can do this.
You
You just, in fact, you don't even need to go far. You just need to posture, and they will run away like scaredy cat. And so they continue to, one way or the other, you still die.
Yeah.
You still die, because you die in the hospitals or you die on the road to the hospital.
Or
Like,
COVID.
this thing we do where there's been an incident somewhere, somebody gets shot or has been an accident or something, particularly if there's been weapons involved, and you rush them to the hospital, and the hospital tells you to go and bring a police report.
Yeah.
I have never been able to understand that thing.
Yeah.
Police report? Somebody's life is at stake. Then you run to the police station, and then the police will start doing their own thing. Before you know it, how many people have died just because of that? Needless death. So we die one way or the other. Yeah. We either die on the battlefield forefront, with their guns, or we die by their policies or their lack of policies. We die by the institutions that they built or refuse to build. We die because because of the equipment they provided to those institutions, or they refuse to provide. We die by the hands of the professionals, or so-called professionals
that they didn't train properly. Yeah.
We die on the roads. We die by reckless drivers, drunk drivers. We die because there's so much poverty in the land. And so thieves, armed robbers, young people who should be doing meaningful things get so, they take up and then they kill us. We die because the people that they've been employing as their thugs to do their bidding, they have downtime. And so in that downtime where there's no political activities,
to do.
So one way or the other, we're dying every day. It may not be you dying today, but it's somebody close to you dying. So this is why we can't, our response isn't to, throw in the towel. It's to go back in and say, okay, this is what they're up to. How should we do it? And to work as a collective, because let's not be foolish. One man army is not going to get you. And it's something when you said about, coming out for the gubernatorial elections, and you didn't come as early because you were reflecting on a lot of things, like, are they going to chase me again? Are they going to slap me? Are they going to ask me, am I Igbo or Yoruba? Are they going to ask me who I'm voting for? Are they going to just assume, that one looks too intelligent, I'm just going to chase him away? One of the responses, and this is on reflecting, is if we had communities of people who came together, and
we banded together, we were
banded together, and
they
you
won't
were
even
prepared.
penetrate. Yes,
it will, even if it will be more difficult for them, you will give them a run for their money. It becomes harder for them. They will sweat a lot more, and then you're collecting the evidence. And that small win itself can be so exhilarating. You're just like, oh, I can shift something. It's small, but it's something shifted. So what do I do to magnify this and to scale this?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So to add to what she said about the talks, and I think one thing that should be able to fix that is part of the citizenship engagement, and then enlightening these people, because these guys really don't know what governance is. So to them is, I'm helping a particular Oga.
Because of money.
Because he's going to give me maybe 20K. I don't know, 20K doesn't even last a week anymore. Do you get? So these guys don't know that, okay, this person you have even trying to maliciously put in power.
Yeah. I don't even think they know they are putting them in power.
They don't even know anything.
They just know they are collecting money.
Actually, good point. There's this video advert that I used to see a while ago, and these thugs hired by this politician and said, okay, I've provided you the machete, the guns, or whatever. You know who my opponent is. I've given you my down payment or whatever. Go out and take him out. And then that guy, the lead of the gang, says, "Oh yeah, sure, guy, we're going out, not problem, but one condition." And he said, "Yeah, anything." He said, "Oh, I want your son to come and join us. Let your son come and join us." You know, and the guy's like, "Are you crazy? My son is in school abroad. My son is this." Like, oh, bring your son home to join us on this expedition because this is really for you. We're fighting for you. So bring your son has to join us. And, that's where it scattered because it was for them an awakening, knowing that, if your son is not good enough, job is not good enough for your son. Why is it good enough? Why us?
Yeah.
And it's speaking to, I wanted to tie that into something that you said about if you were running the market women, the agberos. Do you know those people are educatable? What they have lacked is education.
Yeah.
In fact, the market women are actually quite educated because they are business women. There is no, you understand the movement of everything. They understand that if I vote this person in, this is how it will be for my business.
Yeah.
If this person promises me this is the impact. So they understand. The Agberos, some of them are just disenfranchised. They've just not had the opportunity. But I think they're one of the best target group to take citizens' enlightenment and engagement to. Because amongst them, there are leaders of communities. Amongst them, there's somebody who should be a governor. Somebody who should be. Amongst them, they're fearsome or fearless, I don't know the right term, people. And if they have that sort of courage to defend something, imagine when they're educated and empowered to defend the right things. Just to imagine what that would be. Yeah. So when I look at them, I think you are a group, that is a segment that we need to focus. And I can proudly say that the SPPG and particularly the Office of the Citizen is the Work Study Group 1 that's working on Office of the Citizen, something that we're working in because we can't leave anyone in the society. Everyone matters.
Everyone matters.
Okay, so let's tie it up now with direct conversation about the SPPG and admissions and why young people should join. You have Isaac here, and Okpe has just been sponging everything. She hasn't said one word. I hope Okpe is going to get her PVC and vote and apply.
Apply to the SPPG. Yes. We'll be looking to receive your application.
So you want to tell us about applying, why they should come again, and scholarships and all the benefits, because everybody also sometimes thinks, are you saying I must run for office when I go? And I'm like, no, you don't have to run. So you want to tell us that before we...
Yes, I'm happy to do so. We have applications open for the class of 2024 that will be starting at the end of October, November. We do a 1 month of acculturation. I kid you not, you come for the month of acculturation, and it isn't even the academic part. We're just acculturizing your mindset reorientation, setting the baseline for what's to come. And the response that we always get, wow, is this what we're set up for? Yes, that's what you're set up for, and so much more. So we're currently taking applications on our website, the sppg.org. You can find the information about how to apply. Really simple application. You need to bring with you, do a CV, that's a standard requirement for many applications. And then we have the personal statement. We actually give you a guide. There's 3 or 4 questions we ask you to speak to. Yeah. And the purpose of that is just to help us identify and connect with who you are. Yeah. Who are you and what's your pursuit? Where are you? And, I think there's a question that asks about what you've done in terms of community involvement. And people sometimes seem to struggle with that question. I haven't really done anything. I'm just coming out of university, and so I don't have much of an experience. And I said, okay, talk about that. Talk about why you haven't had an experience. Yeah. Talk about what you've done. Even in secondary school, talk about what you do. Talk about where your heart lies, or the questions you're asking yourself. Yeah. Like, for you to consider this, you have a question or two that's at the back of your mind somewhere that you may have not fully engaged. Sit back, think about, what are the questions? What are my frustrations? Yeah. Speak from those points. So it's not a really tall order. We just want it to be as honest and as realistic as possible, but bring yourself to the table. And then you get 2 references. people who, I mean, you're applying for a job, you're applying to go to school anywhere, it's a standard requirement. People have to attest to who you are, that you're not a fictitious person and that you actually mean to do this. And they can also, that gives them an opportunity to speak to how they see you. You know, some of your referees will see something about you that you don't yet see, or they may be able to validate or corroborate some of the points that you're raising. So that is, please don't use your family members. Best not to use your family members. In fact, I'm not sure you're allowed to use your family members, but there will be somebody you've worked with or you've done a project with or in your church group, in your mosque or something, you know, you volunteered a whole lot on different things. So just talk about what you're exploring. Whatever, we're not specific on any particular. You must want to run for office. Yes, the SPPG is a really and truly, the main focus is it's an incubator for emerging political leaders, and not just emerging and also emerge political. It's an incubator program, I would say, in many ways, but you don't know what will come out of you. In the process of that, you don't know the discoveries, the awakening that will happen, and you may never, like me, I have no plans of running for office, but I know where I stand in terms of Nigerian governance and development, and even not just Nigeria, but outside of that, Africa. You know, I know the things I want to be influencing and the ways that I want to influence that. So don't be afraid, because yes, thinking is for those who want to run. We have people who run their own businesses. They, like Oladipupo here. We have people who are really experienced professionals in all walks of life, in media, academia, in maybe
some already in politics, some in education,
many in politics, in education, in just whatever.
Some have NGOs. Yes. It's a robust class.
It's a robust class.
And I think, you know, just to help you out a bit, one of the things that people must understand about the SPPG is that because it's politics, policy, and governance, some people will be the ones who take nominations and are the face of, you know, whatever constituency they are representing. Policy would be the people who would likely also maybe take spaces in the assemblies. But some of those policy people would also be, like Roberta said earlier, the intra people, the people who are behind those people making things work.
Yep.
And then there's governance, which is just leadership. So you need all those people, because someone like me now, who, again, I begin to work on a team where I'm figuring out I need maybe a social media team, which I think I already have in my office, or I may now need another assistant, maybe a special assistant, or you may need this. So it's not just a school where everybody coming must be focused on, I want to go run for office. If you have the time, first of all, it's leadership. So you will learn a lot about leadership and other things. And I think that you should also realize that everybody is involved. Just like she said, Brazil was saying that you have to, like we say, teca, you know, vote to get your passport, proves that everybody must be engaged. And you being engaged is what makes your nation work, you know, and that's very, very important. So SPPG has scholarships, because people would then probably think that, maybe if Oladipupo went for that course, he paid millions. No. One thing that I found out about the SPPG quickly, because acculturation I would call All-Star Month. With acculturation, I had former governors, governorship candidates, former president of Nigeria, presidential candidates of other countries, professors. It was robust, ministers, former ministers. It's All-Star Month, right? And what you would find with acculturation is that it sort of is like sowing a seed, because you do acculturation, they don't tell you to go and go for Christmas for like 2 weeks. I was just thinking of, I can't wait to get back to class, because I think the former president came, like, I think the last
day was closing our class.
I remember I said, this is when I want to give me 2 weeks off, when I want to continue. Well, you know, that exposure is also very great. And then you don't also know who you meet. I'm pretty sure with SPPG, you may meet your spouse, but you could also meet somebody.
We have actually had that. Actually, earlier this year, we had a wedding to SPPG alums. And we were like, well, We're doing a lot for the nation, aren't we? We're doing a lot.
And then it's also you meet a lot of people. I met someone who said, my name is so and so, and I want to be a deputy governor. I'm like, you don't want to be a governor? I said, no. I work in civil service already.
I remember that.
You were there? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, maybe I want to become governor. She don't go bad though. But the reality is that she was so bold.
Yes.
I have never even said I want to run for governorship. I would just joke about it. But this young lady was so, hi, I'm so and so. I want to be deputy governor of Lagos. Young lady. So please come. It's affordable. There are scholarships from 40% all the way to 100%. Apply now.
Yes, and talking about their scholarships. So we always have good citizens, people in country and actually outside who they see what we're doing and they understand the value of what we're doing, and so they want to support people because they understand that people need help sometimes to just get through. Yeah. And so they put together scholarship for people. But more importantly, this year we went into a partnership with the Gerard Olisa Asha Foundation.
Do we talk about how much the tuition costs? Because I think that's open source now. We don't have,
it's very open. It's on the website.
It's 400,000 for the next cohort.
Yes, it's 400,000.
Again, it's affordable. It's 1 year. I remember that there was the option to pay.
There is the
option instrumental payment.
Yes.
I got 50% scholarship. And sometimes you don't know why people are sowing a seed. I've been telling them in my office about my foundation and how I'm going to be involved in the SPG going forward as an alum. I could have afforded to pay at my cohort the full fee, but then they gave me a 50% scholarship, and that was cool. I paid my school fees. But what am I saying? It's affordable for most people, like most working class. Isaac he can afford to pay for the SPG for a year. Mm-hmm. And so don't say the money is too much, or don't say you don't want to drop if you get 50%, for instance, or 40%, and it's 200K instead of 400K. No, you can pay instrumentally. There's no excuse. And then we spend so much time, like Isaac and I love football. We spend so much time watching soccer. He's already looking at his time because match is about to start, right? But we spend so much time watching football during the day, morning or afternoon or evening, that 3 hours a day is not so much. And it's discipline. Trust me, because I've been telling them, I didn't miss one single class, 6 to 9. And it was discipline for me. So now I have to sort of recalibrate my time. But that discipline is there, and I don't want to lose
time that you don't know what to do with it.
And so what I wanted to do was I'm going to say, okay, that 3 hours, maybe I'll still give 2 hours to this particular work for now, while I try and tidy up certain things. But yes, that discipline, because who would have thought that 6 to 9, even there's people that we started together who I knew they were always in every class. After a while, I stopped seeing them. I said, I know that it's not going to be easy for all of you today. But, and that's discipline. So please apply. I am passionate about Nigeria. I am passionate about the fact that you just know that Nigeria is blessed.
Yeah.
And you know that Nigeria, we're great people. We go abroad, we Japa'd, either for holiday or for work. We excel. And it's funny for me. I would always say, it's not seem like our small problem is leadership. It seems like a very small problem for me, because maybe because I figured it out. But it's a small problem, just doing the right thing. There are two options. Do I do this for everybody, or do I do this for myself? That's basically it. So, and I'm passionate about that. You guys got to see what I'm doing, and as time goes on, but yes. I'm the king of Japa'd sending people abroad, which is an irony. But I would always tell people, it's not about what you do, because immigration has always been, people would always go abroad permanently. It's really about who you are, right? So if I can send people abroad and I can go abroad, and I choose to be here, that says more about it than any other thing. Isaac, this has been more a learning episode for you.
I actually have one question. I don't know if you have.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you guys in partnership with the National Orientation Agency in any way, or is there something you guys have with them?
Right now, no.
Okay.
You have a plug. You want to plug? Anyway, we'll talk about.
No. It's just. I mean, it's what they should be doing in a way, and it's what you guys are doing. So,
just like she said, the institutions. Some institutions are either will tell you they're underfunded, or it's not their business because they have other interests. But yes, but it's not too early for you to go to the SPPG, and I can say for a fact that there's a hidden secret. It's not really a hidden secret because I've talked about my foundation and all that, but I'm pretty sure that if you or any other person in my office,
people.
I'll pay for
That's
that. I'll pay for your tuition. If you apply this year, I'll pay for your tuition.
There you go.
All right, thank you guys for thank you guys for coming. Thank you SPBG for coming. Even though I mean it's passion for me, so it's no biggie, and I'm sure we'll continue to have these conversations. And that's a wrap. Today we're not selling much on what we do for Japa'd or Dog.
We're here for Nigeria.
Now today is about Nigeria. All right.
Thank you so much.